All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening to learn a little bit more about college social sciences and how you can position yourself to be successful in this field of academic study and heading on into the career field as well. You're joining the STARS College Network this evening to learn a little bit more about the network. In just a moment, I'll bring one of my colleagues on to discuss a little bit more. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce myself and all of my other co-panelists this evening. My name is Mike Rick. I am an assistant director of admission at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. I've been working with the university for about 3 years now, and I am the lead for the STARS College Network on our institution's campus. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pass things over to Max.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you all for joining us this evening. My name is Max Bartley, and I'm a senior admission counselor at the University of Chicago. Very similar to Mike, I kind of lead programming at the University of Chicago for the STARS College Network, which we are going to hear about in just a couple of minutes. But super excited to have you all here this evening to chat a little bit about the different opportunities in the social sciences, give you all some different definitions. So hopefully you can start thinking about what that career or academic path may look like. Going to pass things off to my colleague Jess at Iowa.
Thanks, Max, and thank you all for logging in tonight. My name is Jess Klein. I am one of the senior admission counselors at the University of Iowa. In addition to being an admission counselor in our Office of Admissions, I'm also the STARS College Network contact at the University of Iowa, and I have been there for 5 years now. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague at Vanderbilt, Anissa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anissa Perkins. I am a senior admissions counselor at Vanderbilt University, located right here in Nashville, Tennessee. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited. This is my second year with the STARS College Network, from programming to inviting students to campus for tours and even our fly-in program. So I'm so excited to be a part of this. I'm so excited to have my colleagues here with us. With me today, we are going to immerse you in an experience of all things social science and how we're the STARS College Network is going to help you in that space. So what is the STARS College Network? What are we here for? What are we supposed to be learning today, and what can we do for you? So the STARS College Network stands for Small Town and Rural Students College Network. A plethora of us, universities and colleges, came together because we know how important education is, and we also know how important access is. So what we decided to do with the $7.4 billion investment from a variety of investors, whether they went to an institution in the college network or they had a student or a child at the institution, they said, hey, we have the money and we want to invite students from all across the world, all across the US, to come learn about our institutions and see what we can bring to them in an academic space. Now, we touch all kinds of small and rural areas of the US. So don't think that you have to be from a town of 500 folks, because it can be from 500 all the way to 6,000, depending on where you live. But do know that there are 32 institutions that are part of the STARS College Network. We actually recently just expanded. So if you want to go to the West Coast, whether that is at Caltech, or you want to go to the Midwest, whether that is at the AU Chicago or Washington University, located in St. Louis, you want to come to the South at Vanderbilt University or Spelman College, you have multiple opportunities for you to be a part of the STARS College Network, especially because we are high achieving institutions and we want to get you into our institutions as much as you want to be a part of those spaces. So let's talk next about what do we do in the STARS College Network. As you can see, as I said before, 32 of us have decided that we want to provide small and rural town community students opportunities to free programs on STARS campuses, virtual campus college access and affordability program, and new internship opportunities. When you're thinking about traveling to a STARS College Network university, school, or college, I want you to think about we want you to get out of what you are used to and into something new. Many of our institutions, including Brown, including Vanderbilt, including UChicago, and I also believe including Duke, we have fly-in programs where we pay for your expense to come to our institution to meet current students, to meet faculty, to learn from faculty. So you're not just here taking a campus tour, which is also a phenomenal way to start your journey in looking for your institution, but also just really immersing you into the culture we have. From that, again, we have free programming, but also some of us can't leave home, right? Whether we have finances, financial responsibilities, we have family responsibilities, or maybe we're just a little afraid to go all the way across the world to Caltech or all the way down to the South. We have virtual college access and affordability program, including ones like this, the social sciences, and then also new internship opportunities. We don't want you to just be in the classroom. We want you to get out of the classroom, start learning what you want to be, right? Learn from a mentor, learn from a faculty, learn from someone on our campus so that you can be ready job-wise. Now, we are not going to get you ready for a job at 17 when you may even change your mind by the time you turn 18, but through partnerships and memberships throughout our schools, we're going to get you immersed in job internship opportunities so that you don't have to wait until you get to college for that partnership to start. I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Max. He's going to talk a little bit more about the social sciences.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anissa. So as Anissa was just talking about, the Stars College Network is really focused on providing a lot of information to rural students, providing a lot of really cool programs, whether those are fly-in programs, virtual events, but we also want to just generally get you all prepared for college and whatever comes after college as well. So the goal of this little panel is to give you a broad overview of the social sciences as not only an academic field, but also as a potential career path as well. There are many different opportunities out there for every single student, no matter where you attend college, where you go off to university. But we kind of want to give you a sampling of what it could be like for you to be a student pursuing a path in the social sciences. Really want to start us off first with a couple of different quotes and definitions of what the social sciences truly are. You will see throughout this panel that the social sciences look and feel and sound different depending on the context and depending on what pathway you're pursuing in the social sciences. But I really like this definition from Robert Redfield. So the goal of social sciences, as Robert Redfield really says, is to communicate the historical development of contemporary society and to convey some understanding of the scientific spirit as applied to social problems and the capacity to address oneself in that spirit to such a problem. So it's really about understanding and conceptualizing and critically analyzing social problems and issues, different areas in the world and community around you, and then becoming an expert in that field and working to solve those problems. Another little piece that I want to take right off the UChicago Social Science website is talking about how the social sciences help us understand the world around us through critical analysis of social problems and structures. An education focused on the social sciences will train students in the analysis of social phenomena through the development and use of interdisciplinary and comparative concepts. The courses also try to determine the characteristics among many societies, thus enabling the individual to use both reason and special knowledge to confront rapid change in the global world of the late 20th century. So again, this is kind of another definition here. Really, that goal of the social sciences being that students are able to understand, analyze, and then really tackle social problems and structures through a variety of different lenses and disciplines. And this can really look like so many different career fields and prospects, but kind of want to start you all off with that definition first before we dive into a little bit more about the different fits for social sciences.
Great. Thank you, Max. So I do want to pose the question now, who is a good fit for a degree in the social sciences? And that's a question that I can't answer, more so one that I'm posing to all of you in the audience tonight. I do want to highlight some of the key aspects that we see that are often associated with the individuals who are pursuing career fields in the social sciences or decide to study that in college as well. So do you enjoy conducting research? Do you enjoy teaching others? Are you a service-oriented individual and like helping others around you? Are you intellectually curious as well? Are you collaborative and are you passionate? These are the type of adjectives that we think about when dissecting the career fields of social scientists, as well as individuals who thrive in that classroom academic setting within the social science categories. We will go over a list of majors here that are commonly seen across most institutions that offer perhaps a college of social science at their campus. But think about these things as it relates to your personality, beyond what a salary might promise you, beyond what a title might give you, or a particular job description. Think to yourself and your core personality. Do you identify with these types of aspects of character traits? Or are you an individual who identifies a little bit more with something else? This is a great way to help you formulate how you should set yourself up for success at the college level, which is what I want to talk about next as well. Specifically, how can you prepare yourself for success within the social sciences? And especially talking to the high school juniors or seniors who still have this upcoming academic year to prepare themselves for college. And of course, anybody who's also going through college or having some downtime because it's the summer right now and want to pick up some additional experiences to help them be prepared, as I mentioned. So thinking about the high school curriculum and what most institutions are looking for in their competitive applicants to be successful in these programs, we want you to really be empowered to reach out to every admission office that you are interested in applying to. So whether that be any of the 4 institutions represented here tonight, or the other schools within the Stars College Network, or even that local institution to your own neck of the woods, ask yourself, do you genuinely know what their admission standards are? And have you reviewed what's available on their websites? Some institutions will have specific admission requirements designated for their degree programs. And so if you are interested in a degree in social sciences, take a look, see if they have recommendations for your curriculum and for your preparation at high school. Just list it online. It's a great place to start. But also understand that most social scientists are going to need a strong foundation in statistics. The coursework that they're going to be pursuing at the college level will be very reading and writing intensive. So anticipate being able to read quite a lot of information and be able to practice synthesizing that information to share in your classroom environment, and as well as on those exam results too. And then also experience conducting research in an academic setting is very common as well. So research happens across every different spectrum of academic discipline at a university's campus, and social sciences are certainly no exception to that. So it's certainly a great experience for our students to have research at the undergraduate level, and that can happen at any one of the campuses represented here tonight. But of course, you have that opportunity to try to dabble in research yourself at the high school level, perhaps with other individuals at your school or local institutions nearby. It's a great way to get your feet wet and to understand if that's another neck of academia that you want to pursue. As far as extracurricular experiences go, and what we hope a lot of our students are getting involved in, will really be surrounding a lot of community-oriented activities. We'd love to see having an opportunity for hands-on problem solving. And again, when you're thinking about those careers in social sciences, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But some of those initial career trajectories that I'm thinking of are, anything from such as like a police officer to individuals that work in public service to individuals who are working in even higher education. These are activities which you need to be a community-oriented individual. You need to be able to problem solve while you're standing on your feet and in the moment. And you're also going to want to have experience doing those things, as I just mentioned before. So shadowing different career fields, interning at different offices and in different areas of the social sciences will be a great way to develop your resume and prepare yourself for your career as well. And then taking on any leadership roles available for you just shows that development even further to show that you are ready to succeed at the next level. So speaking of the majors that I mentioned, I'm going to invite Max back to just talk a little bit more about what those traditional majors you'll see and some non-traditional ones that you might see at different institutions within the social sciences.
Thank you, Mike, again. So yeah, we have a little list here of a number of different majors in the social sciences. This is in no way a comprehensive list. You will see majors and programs that you have likely heard of before, such as potentially anthropology or economics. You may also be seeing different majors that you did not know existed before coming on to this panel, such as laws, letters, and society, or race, diaspora, and indigeneity, or even ethics and public policy. Wanted to show a variety of the different fields that you all can pursue and still be a social scientist. So again, as Mike was saying, it's a really good idea to explore a number of different institutions and what programs they offer. You may stumble into programs, academic programs, internships, career paths that you didn't know were out there before doing that research or attending any institutions you choose to attend. So again, it's really a good idea to keep this search process and even your college application process quite broad, because there are so many different types of programs out there. So again, if you're a student who is interested in any of this type of work, if you're a student who's really interested in diving into the social problems or structures that you see in the world around you, you can do so through a variety of different lenses. Kind of as we talked about a little bit earlier on in the presentation, there are a lot of different ways that you can look at these problems and try to diagnose and solve them. And again, these are just a handful of different majors that you can use to pursue exactly that. So I'll shout out a few others that may be a little bit more familiar. So you have social justice, social work, and sociology. You have majors such as psychology, philosophy, political science, or international relations, history, geography, environment, geography, and urbanization, criminology, law, and justice. So again, these are just a handful of those different majors, just a little example of the different offerings that you could find at many of our different institutions. But again, this is not a completely comprehensive list. There are many, many, many other different majors that you could also pursue and consider yourself a social scientist.
All right. And speaking of some of those majors, something that I always work with students on is that, of course, the major has a title that kind of summarizes what you are going to be learning throughout those 4 years that you are studying that content, or the name of the field that you might potentially be going into. But each major also has a list of skills that you are going to learn in those courses. This is a great way when you go out into the workforce or when you are applying to grad school. If you can identify the skill set that you picked up during your time in school studying whatever social sciences major you selected, these are a great way to leverage how you would be a good fit for certain grad schools or certain jobs in the workforce. So for example, many of our social science majors that we offer on our various campuses, and again, that list was not conclusive, so you might find other social science majors at other institutions. Many of those have several common skill sets that you learn throughout your time in studying, such as analytical skills. So this allows you to be a good analyst and dive very deeply into the content that is presented to you and be able to analyze exactly what content you are taking in. Communication-wise, many social science students end up being really, really great written communicators. So you know how to write different types of papers, you know how to get your thought process out on paper, but you are often also a great oral communicator as well, which is a skill set that is valued by quite literally every single profession. Problem solving is also often a huge part of a social science major. So again, this kind of goes along with being analytical, but allowing yourself to analyze a problem, for example, a social problem, and analyze exactly what the issue is and what certain solutions might be. There is also, of course, critical thinking skills, which are very, very important and kind of also go hand in hand with problem solving and analysis. That allows you to learn how to think even more critically and really break down an issue and really present solutions. Of course, be able to communicate those back. Sometimes you also have the ability to learn more about data as well and how to use that data and interpret that data. So for example, if you are focusing on a psychological study, you might learn how to break down the data from that study and look into how many participants there were and what percentage of them had certain experiences. So data is also an important part, which is why we mentioned earlier that you may need some statistics in your skill set so that you can learn how to use that data as well. And finally, research skills are very, very common. This kind of ties all of this together, but learning how to research is a very valuable asset that many people in the workforce would love to have in their employees. And if you're going to grad school, can also be a very valuable skill. Oftentimes you'll learn to research through different sources. So that might be learning to research at your library with the books that they have, or with objects, or with anything that they have as part of a special collection. It can also be doing research through different types of studies and learning how those studies work as well. So the social sciences have quite a broad set of skills. So when you are studying one of those majors, if you are going into the workforce and you're kind of thinking through exactly the job that you are applying to, you might bounce back to some of these types of skills that you've learned during that time. And that is what is going to allow you to really convey how your degree will help you in the future. And since you're currently in high school at this point in time, if any of these types of skills are things that you are already strong in, so you know you're already good at communication, or you know that you enjoy research or would enjoy research, you know you are good at critical thinking, these are also good traits to have as a social sciences major. And it's also a great way to help you narrow down whether a social sciences major is a good fit for you.
And I can hop back in here. I wanted to give two interesting examples of what exactly social scientists do. So we've been talking a bit again about the different paths or the different strengths social scientists may have. But I also want to help you all kind of envision what exactly a social scientist does or could do on a day-to-day basis. So I have two really interesting and very different examples here. So you'll find that a lot of the work in the social sciences is very interdisciplinary in nature. You'll end up working with people in a variety of different fields. We had a great question about how engineering and the social sciences can be connected, and oftentimes they are. You will use the skills developed in social sciences courses or majors in really any field that you end up encountering, including engineering. And this first photo on the left kind of gives us an example of how atomic scientists and social scientists work together and ultimately calculates where they need to position the hands of the doomsday clock. So if anybody is not familiar with the doomsday clock, it is an example of how social scientists often work across many different fields. And the doomsday clock really represents how close we are to destroying the world through dangerous technologies of our own making. A lot of times, the kind of original concept of this was surrounding the development of nuclear reactions and the nuclear bomb. It is where the doomsday clock originated, but has since kind of shifted meaning, and oftentimes we're considering a lot of environmental factors when we have these atomic scientists setting the hands of the clock. And essentially, it really warns how many metaphorical minutes to midnight we have left. And it's set every year by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, and is really intended to inspire action and kind of warn the public as well. So today, the Bulletin Science and Security Board sets the clock, and it's actually a group of 18 different experts from very diverse backgrounds, ranging from policy and diplomacy to military history and nuclear science. And they meet twice a year to discuss the events, policies, and trends of the year, and then again, kind of determine where those hands are going to be set. They also consult really widely with many different people from a range of disciplines. And the clock is housed at the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy. You have many different people kind of weighing in on the decisions, talking about how environmental factors or political factors are impacting our current moment. So it's an example of how we can, as social scientists, examine the relationship of societies, structures, policies and understand how they're not only impacting us currently, but also how they could impact future generations as well. A little bit less of an abstract concept here. I also wanted to highlight Claudia Golden, who is an economics researcher, and she obtained her degrees at the University of Chicago, both their master's and PhD. She's specifically interested in examining the gender differences in the economic market. And her book, Understanding the Gender Gap, an Economic History of American Women, drew from data from the National Archives and records to reveal a complex story about gender, work, and pay over the 19th and 20th centuries. So economic changes involving social norms and medical innovations have all affected how and when women work, Golden found. And Golden really explored the historical importance of women in the labor market to not only better our understanding of previous gender gaps, but also understand the implications for the future. So really fascinating to see how the work of an economic social scientist can not only inform our understanding of previous generations, but again, to also inform our understanding and the implications going forward as well. So these are two really interesting examples of what exactly social scientists may be doing. And I encourage you all to continue researching anything in the social sciences and explore all the different opportunities and really cool work that is being done today.
All right, so in addition to those really cool examples that Max provided, there's plenty of examples that are maybe a little bit more commonly seen in society, such as law enforcement or teachers within the education system or anybody within the education system that still falls within social sciences. So again, this is a non-conclusive list. There are plenty of careers within the social sciences that we did not list here, but just to provide you some very common examples that you might be more familiar with. Some of these don't require an upper or a master's degree or professional degree at all. Some of them just require a bachelor's. Many of these are degrees you can get done in 4 years. Sometimes you might want to continue moving forward with additional education, depending on the field you're interested in going into. And like I said, some of those examples that you see commonly are things like law enforcement. So being a police officer or a sheriff falls within the social sciences, as does working in education, whether that is teaching, being a teacher's assistant, anywhere within that education realm. So is social work. So social work, again, you can often go for the master's degree in that if you'd like, or there's plenty of social work bachelor's programs as well. Higher education and student affairs is what we all do. So we all work at an institution of higher education. We are all at a college or a university. So higher education and student affairs is usually the title of a master's degree. But if you have, for example, a history degree like I do, that's a great opportunity to get into a career in higher ed and student affairs. Counseling is also an option, whether this is on the high school side. We all work with high school guidance counselors to help students get through the college admission process, but there's also the counseling on the mental health side as well, and going into the counseling and therapy world. That is also an excellent example of helping out the community and being in the social sciences. Human resources and recruitment. You're probably not as familiar with that in high school, but once you get out into the workforce, HR is short for human resources, and they are the folks that help people through the employment process. So they help with job interviews and posting job positions. They make sure that once you are employed, you are having a good experience at your place of employment. So again, all about connecting with people, which is a great example of that social sciences at work. There's, of course, plenty of opportunities within research. So we talked a lot about how you will conduct research, typically during your undergrad in the social sciences. That carries over into a full-time profession, potentially, if you'd like to work for a research firm. And agriculture and environment as well. There's plenty of opportunities to get involved in agriculture if you grew up around that and you'd like to stay involved, or if you're interested in that side of things as well. And that does kind of tie into the environmental side of things. We mentioned environmental policy earlier. That's also an example of where you might be using some of that data to help out the environment as well. So at this point, we always like to emphasize some of our student stories. So each of us have a student from our institutions that have either graduated with a social sciences degree or are currently in school studying the social sciences. And I'll start off with Max highlighting one of his students from UChicago.
Wonderful, thank you. So yeah, we wanted to give you all the opportunity to really envision what it's like to be a high school student, applying to college and kind of working through your academic experience and ultimately obtaining a degree in social sciences. So I think the student spotlights are a great way to visualize this entire process. It's a lot of information on this slide. I want to walk you all through the journey of one of our students, Felix Gonzalez, who works in our office. He's been a really incredible student and is now currently an intern in our office. He started school in Tennessee, so a pretty small town of roughly 2,000 people. He would absolutely have been eligible for the Stars College Network programming if it had been available when he was in high school. But in high school, he was really focused on doing the full IB diploma, which was offered at his high school. And he was really taking advantage of the rigorous curriculum available to him. If you don't have an IB diploma at your high school, that is totally okay. When you are applying to colleges, they're going to examine the courses that you are taking, and then also looking at your school report to really understand what is being offered for you. So we completely understand that students may be taking different courses because that is simply what is available at their high school. You might have AP courses, you might have dual enrollment courses, you might have honors courses or a full IB diploma. If you challenge yourself in some of those courses, you will find that you will be incredibly successful at whatever college you will go off to. But again, as an example, Felix did that full IB diploma. After that, he was holding a number of different leadership positions. So we also talked about how your extracurriculars can also help you develop the skills needed in social sciences. So he held positions in student government. He also ran a YouTube channel that had over 280,000 subscribers, which is really interesting. But also he was taking care of his sibling full time and clearly developed a lot of really important skills. I'm sure learned many lessons through just taking care of a younger sibling. If you take care of a younger sibling or you have significant family responsibilities, I encourage you all to include that in your application to colleges. We're really interested in learning what you all are doing outside of the classroom, and that not only includes dedicated extracurriculars that are right through your school, but can also include really any way that you're spending your time outside of the classroom. Felix was also involved over the summer as well. So specifically, he attended the Tennessee Governor's School for Prospective Teachers, and that happened in between his junior and senior year. So clearly, you already see that Felix had some interest in education and in the social sciences themselves. He was specifically interested in liberal arts universities and also kind of set a radius for himself. He wanted to be a handful of hours away from home so that he would be able to go back and visit family. Other really important factors for him included mental health resources, also financial aid resources as well, and supports for lower income students. So as you are doing your own college search process, it's really a good idea to keep in mind what your own factors are or what's really important for you. As you see, Felix had his own set of factors, but for every single one of you, those factors may be different. So Felix attended a number of different information sessions, and a lot of these sessions ended up being virtual. He wasn't able to do a ton of school visits. Sometimes those school visits can be cost prohibitive for many students. Then ultimately, he applied through the QuestBridge platform. So QuestBridge is an application option for students that can apply to be a QuestBridge finalist. And then ultimately you end up applying to a number of different schools through that application form. Eventually, he arrived at UChicago. He found UChicago, started taking his core classes. So at UChicago, we do have a core curriculum, essentially a curriculum where students need to take courses in a number of different subjects. But ultimately took a lot of really interesting courses and declared his degrees in that second year. He also did a little bit of research at the Summer Institute of Social Research. And his degrees specifically were in both Latin American studies, but also education and society. After he took on those courses, after he declared that major, he was doing some career advising. He found an opportunity in our office, the Office of College Admissions. as an intern. And then he also interned at the Center for Latin American Studies. And then also, again, as I mentioned, did that Summer Institute in Social Research Methods. Ultimately, this led him to pursue his master's also at the University of Chicago. So Felix recently obtained his Master's of Arts in the Social Sciences, also known as MAPPS or MAPS at UChicago. And he is really interested in advocating for increased financial aid and other programs at UChicago, still kind of focused in this education sector. So as you see his pathway through high school and his preparation, ultimately allowed him to be successful and really take advantage of everything that was being offered at UChicago, be a very successful student in the social sciences. But this is just one example of a student's path. We also want to give you a multitude of other examples so you all can see the different pathways that students can take and be successful in this field.
All right, next we have Rohit Kataria. Rohit just recently graduated from Vanderbilt this past spring. So Rohit graduated with a bachelor's in public policy studies with a double minor in data science and Asian American and Asian diaspora studies. So you're like, how did Rohit get there? What did they do? How can I do that? Do I really want to do that? Maybe I do. How do I do that? So in high school, Rohit was very ambitious, right? He lived in a rural southern Wheelers. He lived in rural southern Wheelersburg, Ohio, which has about 6,000 folks in total. So again, that goes back to, you could come from a small town. It can be from 200 to 400 all the way up to 6,000 to 10,000 folks. So don't think you're X'd out just because you're not in that 6,000 range or that 400 range. Again, he was very ambitious. He won the National Science Regional Bowl 3 years consecutively, which means that this student was dedicated and consistent. And that is what a lot of us like to see on a student's application. So when you're thinking about, well, maybe I don't want to do the Science Bowl, but I do want to commit myself to something, we love to see commitment. So as you can see, Rohit committed himself to that. And then he also won what became a quarterfinalist in 2019 for the Jeopardy Team Tournament, in which he actually recently returned, I think within the last year, to Jeopardy to win again. So this is a clear example of this student is, or was, I should say, this student was immersed in what their school had to offer. And we really like to talk about that through an admissions perspective, because some students think, well, if I don't have this, then they won't accept me. Or if I do have this, I want you to immerse yourself in what your school has to offer, and keep in mind that we know based on your school's profile, your counselor might give us, or based on our own personal research we get us from national institutes, we can see what your school can offer. And I know specifically at Vanderbilt, we do not compare you to what maybe the school around the corner or the school in a suburban area with maybe 3,000 kids has to offer. So immerse yourself in what your school has to offer and find out how you can do that consistently. What really stood out for us, for Roy, was that not only were they specifically consecutive in science, or the Science Bowl, but also strong test scores and school activities, exceptional grades. At certain schools, especially Stars College Network, a lot of us are looking at you holistically. So I don't want you to think, well, if I don't have something, it won't be enough. Every student is different. We love to see accolades. We love to see different classes you're taking, if you're taking the most rigorous courses in your high school, if that's what they offer. And we also love to see that you are immersed in your community, which goes back to what Mike was talking about, earlier. Are you doing research? Are you passionate? These are the things that you need for a social science major. So Roy definitely showed us that throughout his high school, because he was winning accolades both in some of his extracurricular activities and in some of his academic spaces as well. Now, in the college search, Initially, Roy was actually interested in neuroscience, and that speaks to how we want students to have your first idea in mind. If you know you want to major in something in social sciences, and that is what you want to do for the rest of your life, go ahead and have your number one choice major, but also choose an institution that has your number two choice or your number three choice, because as you can see, Roy started with an interest in neuroscience and ended up with a bachelor's in public policy. So Roy was interested in a school that if I don't choose neuroscience, do they have something else I would like? Do they have another academic interest of mine? Roy also wanted to attend schools that offered scholarships, in which he actually received to come to Vanderbilt. He received the Cornelius Vanderbilt Scholarship. And then also within 6 hour driving distance, 6 hours to one could be very far. 6 hours to another could be not far enough, right? So when you're thinking about how far you want to go, do they offer scholarships? As I do know that 32 of our STARS College Network members do offer some kind of scholarship, whether that's need-based aid, merit-based scholarships. I want you to make sure that that is a standard when you're looking for your schools. How far is it? Do they offer scholarships? Do they have my number one major, number two major? Will they be able to support me in my transition? Now, we obviously was able to support Roy, which allowed him to create scholarships for students at his hometown. He also created the co-founded the Asian American Advocacy Project, founder and president of the VU STARS student organization. So even though STARS was not completely established for him when he was a first year student, he was able to establish the STAR student organization on our campus, which goes back to, again, are you creative? Are you passionate? Do you have something that you believe in that you want to bring to our campuses based on maybe your identity, based on where you come from? As you can see, the STARS College Network has 32 members, but we are trying to grow our student organizations on campus. You can be a part of that when you, if you attend one of these institutions. Going back to their career interests and their academic interests, what you want to do, as Max said, is align your career interests with your academic interests. As you can see, Roy wanted to do public policy. That's what his major was, right? And he also wanted to do a double minor in data science and Asian American and Asian diaspora studies. So what did he do for his internships during the summer or during the school year? He interned at the National Education Equity Lab, the U.S. Agency for International Development, founder of the Asian American Studies Collaborative. So our institutions, obviously, we're going to challenge you academically in the classroom to step out of your norm, but we want you to get outside of the classroom. Take what you have learned, take what you actually may have been exposed to. Maybe you didn't know about the U.S. Agency for International Development until you came to our institutions. Now you want to do research with them. Now you want to intern with them. Or maybe you didn't know about the National Education Equity Lab until your faculty told you about it. We want students who are intellectually curious, right? So think about, okay, if I'm interested in this, who can I connect with? Obviously, we are all going to have a career center of some sort, from research to internships to fellowships and even full-time careers, so we can get you prepared for what is next. Now, speaking of next, as you can see, Rohit is going to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University this fall for their Masters of Public Policy. So it didn't just stop at I did an internship here, or I was a National Science Bowl in high school, a champion in high school, I was on Jeopardy in the last year, or I started this organization. It went from all of that to now I'm continuing my education in my master's program. Some students decide, hey, I actually don't want to go into a master's or a doctoral or a professional degree. I want to go straight into the workforce. I want you to think about how can these next 4 years of my institution at any of these 32 STARS College Network members or any of the other wonderful institutions in the US and outside, how am I going to make sure that these next 4 years are getting me ready for my master's, doctoral program, the Peace Corps, to study abroad, etc. And Roa did a phenomenal job at demonstrating that. So next, we're going to talk a little bit more about some students from Iowa.
Thank you, Anissa. So this is Myra. Myra works at the University of Iowa Office of Admissions. So she is actually a current student on our campus. So she is still kind of in the midst of her studies and actually just finished up her first year. So she had some great things to say about how she got to her major and how she got to the University of Iowa. So Myra is a rural small town student. She grew up in a very small town in the state of Iowa, and her high school was quite small as well. But during high school, she did have the opportunity to take dual enrollment courses through a local community college. That is a very common practice in the state of Iowa to have a little bit of access to that, or potentially a lot, depending on your school. Myra kind of dabbled in some of those courses to give her a little bit of that college experience and let her kind of sample a few different majors before she graduated high school. One of the courses that she took is called a CAPS course, which stands for the Center for Advanced Professional Studies. And that is a course that allows students to explore different areas. So this course, if we see this on a student's transcript, might not transfer directly for credit, but Myra took it so that she had the opportunity to really understand more about herself, the things she was interested in, where she had the strongest ability in certain subjects. And this allowed her to interview professionals in the social sciences as well. So when she got to Iowa, she knew kind of that general area of majors that she wanted to go into, and she knew what she was most interested in. So she at least had that starting point. So as she's going throughout the college search process, Myra recognized that she didn't visit a lot of institutions because of distance. But one positive thing is that many institutions do have plenty of virtual resources. So if you can't get to campus in person, there's often a virtual tour or a virtual overview session, and Myra definitely took advantage of plenty of those. And when she was looking for a school, she knew she was looking specifically for the types of opportunities that students had available to them. She wanted to make sure there was plenty of different opportunities on campus. There wasn't just one or two ways to get involved, but there were plenty of different avenues. She also wanted to make sure that it was a campus of a little bit of a larger size. So the University of Iowa is 22,000 undergraduate students. That, to Myra, was where she wanted to be because that offered her diverse perspectives from students that were coming in from different backgrounds, that had different personalities and different skill sets and different thoughts and different opinions and different ways of doing things. And so she wanted to be around that type of culture. She also wanted to focus on a school that had a diversity of or a diverse amount of areas of study and types of different areas of study, because she does want to combine multiple things all at once. And you'll notice she's a political science major currently with a news and media literacy minor, which we'll talk about how she got there in a moment. So in terms of academic advising, all of our students have academic advisors, and Myra has done a great job of utilizing hers. She established that relationship very early on, and she's used advising to explore the different areas of study that we have on campus. So as I said, she has a news and media literacy minor. She did not come in with that. That is something that she picked up after working with her advisor to see if there were any additional areas of study that would complement her already existing political science major. And in addition to that academic advising, we have a career center with some resources on campus that can also help students kind of figure out their pathway, whether they're in the phase where they're deciding on a major or they just want to add to it. So Myra has taken advantage of those resources, including aptitude testing. This helped her kind of solidify that she was going in the right direction. She knew that this was the major for her and that the social sciences in general were where she wanted to study. And this also helped her connect with career advising resources in the form of the actual advising team. They recommended that Myra get connected in our community. So she does volunteer in downtown Iowa City with some local organizations that provide her some experiential learning. And that experiential learning just allows her to get a more hands-on skill set. So when she does move on to the next step post-undergrad, she has a good backing in working out in the field, so to speak. And her future plans are, once she graduates from the University of Iowa, she does plan to attend grad school. Myra doesn't have the exact grad school in mind just yet, but she's hoping to go somewhere within campaigning or somewhere within government affairs.
All right, and our last student that we are going to highlight is actually one of my wonderful colleagues. She is also a student in our Masters of Public Health and Global Health at Brown while serving as a full-time admission officer on our staff, and that is Molly Siegel. So Molly attended a public school in upstate New York. While she was in high school, she was the class president all 4 years. So she was very involved in her high school community and somebody who was really interested in making sure that the individuals around her are being supported in reaching their goals. A part of her high school experience also involved research. She actually won some research awards through her time in high school, specifically surrounding the prison system, as well as volunteering in the ambulance corps and interning in a political campaign while she was in high school as well. Beyond the kind of external factors of her high school experience, she was also a very strong test taker. She utilized test prep skills and the test prep education that she received from her counseling staff in her high school, as well as what's available online and very prevalent across the internet. It said she shared that it really helped her in the ability to succeed well in those standardized tests when she was applying to Brown. In addition to that, she held consistent leadership roles throughout student government. As I mentioned, she was the school president all 4 years, but she's also continuing that leadership as she moved throughout her high school experience and into her college experience as well. When she was looking for that next step after high school, what her primary focus was finding that institution that would support her curiosity and would facilitate a collaborative learning environment. I think Brown University did a fantastic job in her eyes of filling both of those roles, and we continue to do so through our open curriculum, where students have the opportunity to enroll in any of the coursework that they're interested in, as compared to being in a structured university core environment. And her interests really split between political science and the medical field. And so, of course, now that she has graduated with her undergraduate double concentration in public health and international and public affairs, her persistence in her interest in academic studies of both the medical field and political science really showed that she needed to find that institution that would allow her that flexibility and autonomy to choose the coursework that she wanted to enroll in so that she could find success in those fields that she was interested in. So when she was on campus as an undergraduate student, she was the Brown Opinion Project founder and president, which is basically the organization on campus that conducts student polling and is involved in poll sciences and different fundraising as well events. She was also a Meiklejohn peer advisor for our campus students or students on our campus. They can be Meiklejohn advisors, which is a name for basically an upperclassman student serving as a big brother or big sister figure to our incoming freshmen and helping them get oriented on our campus. Beyond that, she did Emerging Infectious Disease Scholarship Program. She was a Humanitarian Innovation Award winner and a principal investigator for the Brown and Cape Verde Health Initiative. So she really spent her time spread across the full spectrum of extracurricular activities that is offered at Brown. And beyond that, she also became a tour guide as a part of her career development. So she saw an opportunity in that she could develop her personal connection skills, her public speaking skills, as well as an opportunity to showcase Brown University and represent the student body on our campus. Beyond that, she was also a Children's Defense Fund health policy intern. She also engaged in a gap semester in 2020 to work for another presidential campaign back in Minnesota. And she's also a Brown Department of Global Emergency Medicine researcher as an undergraduate student as well. So I mentioned that she graduated. She graduated in the class of 2023. And we were so fortunate to bring her onto our staff as one of our admission officers. So she helps us review applicants and read the different applications as well as recruit students, while also being in our master's program in public health and global health at Brown. So she's balancing quite a busy schedule and really utilizing the university to develop herself in a professional manner, in a personal manner, and of course in an academic manner as well. With that in mind, though, I do want to keep an eye on our time, and I want to highlight a couple of different links that we have prepared for you here. So if you had any additional interest in any of the four institutions that are represented here tonight, be it Brown, Iowa, the University of Chicago, or Vanderbilt, please utilize these QR codes to visit our admission websites. If you'd like to stay in touch with us, sign up for our mailing list and utilize the different links that live on admission websites as well. Not only is it application dates and deadlines and basic information about the university, but there are also plenty of different links that are embedded within those sites that will take you to the financial aid office, to the student support offices, to different research centers, and to different major pages on our different campuses, so you can learn a little bit more about what exactly happens at each of our institutions. And with that, I am going to turn my attention over to the question and answer session now. And we have some great questions that have already been coming in. And one of which that I wanted to answer right off the top of the night would be coming from, I believe it was Sophie and Hope. They wanted us to discuss a little bit more about our fly-in programs and the opportunities available. I'll speak in basically at large for this, and then if any of y'all would like to add something about your particular programs, I'm happy to, of course, allow you to do that as well. So as far as the fly-in programs that each institution is hosting, it will be a little bit different by school. At Brown University, at the University of Chicago, and I also know at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, we are hosting a joint application this summer that's open currently right now that students can use to apply to our programs, and they're designed for current juniors in high school. So at Brown, we'll be hosting our program in the fall. UChicago, I know y'all are hosting your program this upcoming spring, but I also know that Iowa, Vanderbilt, and many of the other institutions are hosting other programs as well. You can find more information about those programs, how to apply for them, when their dates are, and what the stipulations are surrounding them on the STARS College Network website on the events page. If you don't find it there, please pick up the phone, call our admission offices, and we'll be happy to explain a little bit more on a case-by-case basis as to what we're offering for prospective students. And I think one other question I wanted to answer as well was in direct relation to the STARS program, and how does each of our institutions recognize individuals who have been engaged in the STARS College Network. So first and foremost, obviously, we are offering these webinars right now. We have the campus programs that I just alluded to a moment ago. And then we have all these different various online resources. These resources are for your benefit. We, of course, do have the opportunity for you to log in and sign up for our mailing list so you can stay in contact with us and hear about our upcoming events. But we do not track demonstrated interest. Demonstrated interest basically means how engaged are you with a particular campus, and the level of which you're engaged in that campus showcases a rudimentary likelihood of your ability to actually enroll in that school. We do not practice that in our admission process and so forth. It's up to you. Basically, the STARS College Network is a benefit or a resource for you all to utilize. It is not an obligation for you to utilize our resources here, nor will your involvement in the STARS College Network give you a leg up in the admission process. I'll pass things off to Jess. I know you had some questions you wanted to answer as well.
Yes, absolutely. There are a couple of questions in here chatting about kind of what types of extracurricular activities can help students stand out. I always like to provide the blanket statement that we are 4 institutions. There's plenty of other institutions in the US and outside of the US, of course. No matter which one you are looking at, each school is going to have a little bit of a different admission process. So it is always important to check with the specific institution that you are interested in applying to. For example, the University of Iowa does not consider extracurricular activities in their general admission process, but there may be consideration for scholarships outside of our office or for the honors program that do look at those types of things. So it's definitely something we want you to participate in, but it is not going to make a difference for us in terms of admissions. However, you might be looking at Brown or Vanderbilt or UChicago, and they might have a different process or a different institution entirely. So it is very, very important to communicate with the institutions that you are most interested in applying to. I do also notice that there is a question about, do the STARS lead admission officers read apps from small schools, or do reps read them by geographic region? Again, it depends on the institution and how their process works. So if you're looking specifically at a school and you're curious of who is going to be reading your application, and if there is one point of contact you should be directing your questions to, for example, the University of Iowa works off geographic territory. So I'm happy to help anybody that calls our office or pops into our office, but any student from Northwest Iowa, both of the Dakotas and Nebraska, has me assigned as their admission counselor. So they're welcome to use me as their specific point of contact. At this point, I'll turn it over to Max. And if Max, you want to grab a couple of those questions, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to touch on something that you said just as well. We are 4 different institutions, and we are going to be considering many different factors in our admission process. So I would strongly encourage you all to not write your college application for one college versus another college. At UChicago, we will consider your extracurricular activities as one of the many components of your application, but we just want to see that students are involved in some way. You don't necessarily need to align those extracurricular activities with any academic pursuits. If they happen to align, that's wonderful. It's something that we can see in your application, but not something that we ever expect students to do in the slightest. Again, it's really about making the most of your high school experience and pursuing the activities and the courses that you are the most excited about. I know we had a handful of questions about different rigorous courses offered at various high schools. So I will speak for UChicago. We use a holistic or contextual review process, which essentially means that we are going to consider every single component of your application in the context of where you're coming from. So we encourage students to take advantage of some of the rigorous courses that are offered at their high school, but never expect students to take classes that are not available to them. Every single high school curriculum is going to look very different. You don't need to be self-studying for a number of different exams just because you feel like you're behind students at other schools. It's all about where you're coming from and what you're able to do with that time in high school. And Anissa, if you see any other questions that you want to hop in and grab, I know we're coming up on time now, and we really appreciate all of these questions. If there's any questions that were left unanswered, please do not hesitate to reach out to us individually through our websites or to the STARS College Network generally as well.
Absolutely. Before we hop off, I just wanted to address the question about how important are SAT scores to our colleges. And about a poor SAT score, what does that look like? So as Max has mentioned, and Jess and Mike, to be honest, we all look at your applications differently. So the first thing you need to do is go to the admissions website of the school you're interested in. Are they test optional? Do they require test scores? What test scores are students submitting? And if they're test optional, really call them and say, okay, what does that really mean for your institution? At Vanderbilt, we are test optional. So students are saying, well, I don't have a certain ACT score, but it doesn't really encompass all of who I am as a student. I may have a really hard time taking the test anxiety. Maybe I couldn't financially afford to pay for SAT prep or ACT prep. Again, because we look at you holistically, as Max just said, we are going to look at you as an entire student. So I always leave this with students. Think of your application like a pizza. You have 8 slices, right? We're going to eat all 8 slices of that pizza if you give us those 8 slices. But it's okay if you only give me 7, because I still got 7 slices to eat. So don't think if you take away an SAT score or you take away an ACT score that I'm still going to be left hungry. I still have 7 other slices to eat of that pizza. So do not allow yourself to convince yourself not to apply to a school just because of your score. Every school is different, and some schools, regardless of what your score is going to look like or does currently look like, will still consider you because, again, we have a holistic admissions process. Now, I do know that it is 8:04. Out of respect for everyone's time, we just want to say thank you for everything. Thanks for attending. Did we have anything else before we hop out of here today? All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Please have a wonderful week. Be all you can be and keep the Stars College Network in mind as we are here to assist you on your journey to attending college.